Hello and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help fathers to sort through their divorce and create an amazing life for themselves and their children. My name is Jude. I am your host today and always. I welcome you to the show today. It is going to be a little bit different. I've just had this recurring theme come up, so I wanted to do a quick spontaneous little bit today. We'll get back to the Dad's Guide to Divorce in the next session. We're doing the 5 steps in the Dad's Guide to Divorce, but this one's just a little bit impromptu, and I'm not scripted like I usually am, and don't have talking points. So I'm just talking off the top of my head here because there's been just this reoccurring theme, and I'm calling this show "There's No Such Thing as a Dragon," and that's the title of a fantastic children's book. And the children's book is written by Jack Kent. You can find it on Amazon. I'll put it in the show notes below. But the premise of the book is that this small dragon appears in a house, and a little kid sees it and goes to his mom and says, "Hey, there's a dragon in my room." And the mom says, "Well, there's no such thing as dragons." And so the dragon continues to live in the house, continues to grow, eats their food, and continues to get so big that he eventually is so big that he gets up and he walks off with the house on his back. And until the mom and the dad recognize that there's a dragon in the house, and when they do, it finally shrinks. So the dragon is a metaphor for issues or problems or really anything that may come up in your awareness or your consciousness. And the reason I want to talk about it is I'm going to share some personal things that have been happening, some examples in my life, but I'm in some of the coaching that I've been doing with some of my clients. It's been a theme, which is pay attention to the little things. Pay attention to what is happening, the little things in your life. 2 things that I always try to pay immense attention to is language and actions. What people say and how they say it, the energy behind what they say, and what they do, if they're actually living what they're saying that they're going to do. And so, the reason being is that if you will pay attention at any juncture on these little things, and Jordan Peterson's got a good one of these on YouTube as well about looking at and being aware of even just the smallest little things that may be coming up in your life. And this is relational. So this is with maybe your children, or maybe with your ex, or maybe with a new relationship. That paying attention to something that may be small can have a profound impact on building a foundation of being able to communicate about that before it grows into that big dragon that is running off with your house, before it becomes a big problem or a big challenge. So not ignoring it. I often get, I'll get clients who, "Hey, did you do the work this week?" "Oh, no, I didn't. I got busy, blah, blah, blah." Okay, well, that is ignoring what you need to be doing in order to move forward. So, like I've got a great example. Just this morning, I had a conversation with my youngest daughter, and I've noticed with her that she was using a lot of 10-year-old expletives. Let me put it that way. And 10-year-old expletives are like, "What the frick?" or "Gosh darn it," etc., which I thought was kind of interesting because she's typically she's very well spoken, very well read, and it's just had this negative feeling or energy around it. So I just said this morning, I noticed that you seem to be, speaking in this manner and using these kind of expletives, and just wanted to point it out to you. So I don't know where that's going to go. We'll see if it changes her behavior, if she's recognized something in herself, and we'll make an adjustment, or if we need to talk about it a little bit further. But I wanted to bring it to her awareness because sometimes that's really important with anybody, whether it's a child, whether it's your spouse, whether it's in a work relationship, to just bring something to the forefront, because then sometimes it'll just take it out of people's subconscious, and that works for us too. we can do, and that works both ways for us. It works for us in saying something to somebody else, or somebody else saying something to us, and then dependent upon what we come to or what happens. I mean, it could be that you then delve into a conversation. With my daughter this morning, I didn't need to delve into a conversation. I just wanted to bring it to her awareness. We'll see what happens. Maybe there will need to be a conversation. Likewise, if somebody says something to me about one of my behaviors or something that's going on, my oldest is very good at doing this with me, and saying, pointing out things that that may not be in my awareness. And I'll tell you what, just like the children's book, just like Jack Kent's children's book, there's no such thing as a dragon. Kids see it all. They will see the problems. They will see what you're doing. They will see your behaviors. You cannot get anything past the children. They are so open and receptive to this that if you think that you're pretending that something's going on, or you're going to just pretend that it's not happening, or that they're not going to know or feel it, they will, I promise you. And it's another reason why it's critical for you not to only do this externally with other people or them, but also to look at yourself if there's a problem. Then I'll give you a good example for myself that I just realized and recognized as well. Was for probably the good part of 2 years, I was waking up at 5:30 every morning. I have my morning routines, and do what I need to do in order to get ready for the day, prepare for the day, and it was just set. I did it for a long time. It was the same routine. So since all this COVID stuff's going on, I have started to wake up later, 6:30. So a little bit later, not that much later, but an hour later. However, it's kind of changed everything in my morning routine, and I've changed that not consciously. It's kind of evolved, and so now I'm consciously aware of what that's done, and what it's done is it's maybe less productive. I've got less of an hour every day, which is 7 days a week, 7 hours to 28 or so hours over the course of a month, which is a lot of time in which I can be productive and I can do something, whatever that may be. So that was a self-focused thing that came to my consciousness that I was aware of. So instead of pretending about it, instead of ignoring it, I said, okay, well, I'm going to recommit, and I haven't yet. This is coming up this week. So check back with me, hold me accountable. That next week, I'm going to start the 5:30 routine again, and starting to get up at 5:30. Now, we talked about last week with, clarifying your vision and direction. So that's helping me to clarify my vision and direction of what I want and where I want to go. So those are some of the behaviors and the action steps in order to get there, which is what we're going to talk about this next week in strategizing your actions in step 2 of the Dad's Guide to Divorce. So, and that'll be coming out. That'll be the regular Monday podcast, and then I'll have the article up at medium.com as well, so you can read through it and check it out as well. So we'll talk about a little bit of that. But I'm getting a little off track there, but I want you to be aware of what's coming up, and also so that you know that you have the tools as well to be able to work through and understand this stuff. So, back to the dragon. There's no such thing as a dragon. I had also another experience in my life that I wanted to share as a divorced father, and this is for you men that are divorced now, perhaps thinking about getting into the dating world and testing out new relationships based upon what the work that you've done since your divorce, and wanting to build another healthy, happy relationship potentially with somebody. But I had somebody a few months ago reconnect with me. It was somebody that I dated for a little while, about 4 years ago, and it actually ended rather poorly. And I was surprised to hear from her, and she wanted to reconnect. She was regretful about how our relationship had ended 4 years ago. And so we talked about what we would need to do in order to reconnect and get back into dating again, and then potentially, hopefully, having that lead into a committed relationship. But this time, 4 years later, I was more cognizant of those little things to be aware of, the language, like I talked about, in the action. Whereas last time when we dated, I wasn't. I just was blind. And the reason that it ended so badly and blew up so incredibly, in my face, was because I ignored all of those little things that led up to the big blow up that ended our relationship. And so this time I was very, very aware of what the actions were, her actions as well as my actions, because it was just critically important to know what I was doing, the steps that I was taking through, and being aware of it. But so what I did, and what I made sure to be cognizant of, was bringing up and talking about things that I identified that were potentially issues for us to talk about. And so, for instance, if there was language around a conversation of commitment that I would hear, I think that I'm ready for a commitment. So bringing up the conversation of, well, you said think is different than I'm ready to be in a committed relationship. The other one was identifying very vague facts around timelines and questions. So, this might look like in your life and in where you notice when you go out with your date or your girlfriend that they're checking their phone all the time, and that's something that is drawing their attention away from you, and they're not present in the time that they're spending with you. So this is something you can ignore, say, oh, maybe it's a behavior that will go away, or maybe instead something that you bring up and say, I noticed you're checking your phone a lot. Can you share with me why that is? Is there something important that's going on? You can even do it at the time that it happens. I think that's a fair way to approach things, because that's a behavior at the time that really is something that is not appropriate. So I just want you to be aware that if you don't do this, and I'll use the example that I'm talking about with this relationship, that things will compound. So that that presence, that not being present, being on the phone, then maybe translates further into your life, in your home life, or in your relationship, or when you become committed, that person's not going to be present. They're not going to be with you. It could be something around maybe when you go out more often, and Dr. Peterson uses this on his example, that you notice your significant other flirting maybe just a little bit with other people when you're out, and you don't say anything the first time, but the next time and the next time, maybe just a little bit more until that person's then just going out on girls' nights, and then you can let your imagination fly as to where that potentially will go until it blows up in your face. So the conversation quickly and easily, that first time where it comes up in your consciousness and your awareness, could be simply, hey, you can use the nonviolent communication. I noticed that you're flirting a lot. That makes me feel, makes me feel sad that you feel like you need to flirt with somebody instead of me. I'd like to resolve this, and because I care about you and I want to continue a relationship. So let's figure this out. And then you solve the problem. Now, maybe this leads to a fight. It could be a huge fight, or it could be that it comes out that the person's not feeling enough attention, or they're needing some sort of attention, or maybe they just have something that is completely unrelated. And this happens all the time. That's completely unrelated to you, and they just needed to talk about it. They were signaling something to be able to catch your attention in order to be asked about this. And so it just takes these open lines of communication. So I want to go back to my example. I continued to do this as we reconnected. I continued to talk about what I was needing around being able to forgive her, and working around also learning to trust, and what she needed to do to earn my trust back. But every step of the way, if there was something, or if there was an action that was not consistent with what I had asked for and what I had stated as my need, I would talk about it. I would bring it up and say, look, this is something that we talked about. And by and large, what happened eventually is that it dialed down for us in our relationship into the values and what we hold important in our respective lives. And what I was able to determine in a short period of time was that they're inconsistent. They're not consistent for us to be in a long-term relationship. But without having those conversations, without paying attention to that language, without paying attention to the actions, without then communicating about those actions, that I would never be able to do that. I would just ignore it. The dragon would get bigger. Maybe the fact that we had inconsistent, incompatible ways of raising our children that I don't ignore when I see behaviors in my children, and she did ignore, which has led to very, very, very difficult challenges with her children that I would have ignored, which would have created a giant dragon in our relationship in the future had we decided to commit, get married, blend our families together. So by taking that time, watching the language, watching her actions with her children, with my children, or with me, my children, in our relationships, I was able to determine that, but not ignore the stuff that I had an issue with. And eventually it's just all gone away because we're not compatible, which is a good thing. It's better to know now than it is to know or have something huge, big, blow up, especially men, because we have our children. They are hopefully your priority or one of your priorities in your lives. And going through this process of trying to date, potentially find another partner, do the stepdad, stepmom thing, blending families, co-parenting that way. Very, very complicated, complex, can be done, but it takes a lot of presence and awareness and making sure that you are paying attention to the little things. So don't let that dragon grow into a huge, huge, awful thing that's going to impact your lives and your children's lives. Pay attention to them and address them at each and every juncture. This takes an immense amount of effort and awareness. So, in order to get through that and figure that out while you're going through divorce, sorting through after divorce, I appreciate it and I understand it takes a lot of energy, but I know you can do it. There are a ton of men that are doing it, that I work with, that I see. I'm trying as well. Hey, look, I'm as much learning all of this as any one of you listen, any one of you that are listening. And I sincerely appreciate the fact that you are listening, because this means you care about getting better, figuring out how to get through your divorce, figuring out how to create a better life for your children. So on that note, if you haven't listened to last week's podcast, the Dad's Guide to Divorce, Step 1, creating your vision, clarifying your vision, please do that, or go to the Medium article and read about it. I'm just taking these 5 steps that I work with men, helping them to get through their divorce or sort through their lives after divorce. Next week, we're going to talk about strategizing your actions based upon those clarified visions, or that clarified vision and direction for your life. And then after that, we're just going to compound upon that. So I will put the links below to last week's podcast, as well as the Medium article. Thanks for listening today. Also, if you need to connect, there is a Dad's Divorce meetup group that has been growing immensely. Check that out in the meeting notes below. It's the second and fourth Saturday of the month. We've been getting just more and more men on that. That's a great free way to just connect with other men, which is incredibly important. Other dads, other divorced dads. As well as check out the website, thedivorcedadvocate.com. There are some resources on that as well. If you need to talk to somebody, I've got a free 30-minute consultation that you can do once a quarter. So even if you just need to just talk to somebody about whatever it may be, You can click through, you can schedule right into my schedule, it syncs right into my phone. I've got dedicated time for anybody that just needs 30 minutes to talk about something. If you need some coaching, you want to take that a little bit further, I've got a special going on. It's literally half off my rate, my regular hourly rate for a 50-minute session. It's a phenomenal deal. But you know what? There's so many people struggling right now with the COVID and work and relationships, et cetera, that it's really necessary to be able to provide that to everybody. So thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and take care.